that this is too much. This is not good. This is not healthy. This is not advantageous to one's creative journey. This is a problem. Hi, my name is Julie and I am a sewing patterns and fabric hoarder. Yeah, it's time to come clean. Not really. I have my phone in hand so that I don't lose focus. But basically, this year I want to institute a low buy sewing year. Now, for me, the reason that I am doing this is not for budgeting, but just off the sheer strength that I spend too much money, I have too many things, and it is stifling my creativity. Let's get into it. I am an emotional shopper. I shop when I'm happy, I shop when I'm sad. Shopping it's fun for me. I enjoy doing it. And now that I make my clothes, I've noticed that the way that I shop has shifted greatly. So usually, you know, or in the past, I'd go out and I'd buy new shoes or I'd buy new dresses and this, that, and the third. But I don't really do that anymore because I make the majority of what I wear. So I just buy lots and lots and lots of fabric stuff. When I moved into this space, like my sewing room, initially I had one Kallax with 8 cubbies, and it wasn't even full. Like 2 of the cubbies were reserved for patterns and notions. So 6 cubbies of fabric. I now have 2 Kallaxes with 8 cubbies overflowing with fabric. I have a fabric bin under my sewing table. I have fabric stored in my laundry closet. I have fabric everywhere. I have well over 200 patterns. I have patterns in my sewing room that I go to immediately, and then I have 5 binders of pattern envelopes where the corresponding patterns are in 5 boxes in my garage.
Don't give me that look.
I have too much stuff. There's no way that I'm gonna get through all of this stuff, dare I say, within the next 5 years. Or maybe within the next 5 years if I don't consume anything else. But at this point, it is becoming a problem. Like, I often joke, like, buying fabric and patterns and sewing are 3 very different hobbies. And I stand firmly by that. But for me personally, one of those hobbies has to take a back seat so that the other hobby can shine. I want my sewing to shine. I want the clothing that I wear to shine. And so in order for that to happen, I really need to take a step back and use what I have. If I bought it into this room because I love it, or because I was inspired by it, or because I could see it on myself, then I need to take the time to honor that thing and put it to use, or it needs to go. It needs to be donated and removed from this space to free up my mind creatively and mentally. Another consequence of like really leaning into the buying and acquiring, Another consequence of really leaning into buying and acquiring so many things is I have gotten into the habit of consuming versus using. So when I want to scratch that creative itch, if I really don't want to, or don't have the courage to dive into like a more challenging project, or don't have the energy to dive into a project, then I'll just go buy. I'll go to estate sales and I'll see what they have. I'll go to fabric stores and I'll see what they have. I'll go to freaking Walmart and I'll peruse their craft section and I'll see what they have. So what I will do is, instead of taking the time to come in here and look at what I have and plan and dream about a project, I'll just go buy a bunch of stuff and then I'll bring it in here and I'll dump it on my table and I'll walk out and I will feel satisfied. But that satisfaction always comes back to like bite me in the tush, because then the next day when I'm ready to create, or the next week when I'm ready to create and I come in here to create, I can't, because I have a pile of stuff on my sewing table that I need to put up. Then where does it go? Because the cubbies are full and my shelves are full and my bins are full. And so why am I still bringing stuff into this room with nowhere to put it? It's kind of insane at this point. And there needs to be some sort of check and balance in place so that I stop myself from continuing to perpetuate a habit that I know is ultimately not good for me or not useful for me creatively speaking. The whole point of this room, the whole point of this channel, the whole point of me sewing is having something to where I can flex my creative muscles and I can scratch that itch. And I cannot do that if I am stifling myself by continuing to consume because I can't create, which then inhibits my ability to create. It's like a really, really bad cycle. Which brings me to the next point of, what am I stockpiling for? I have all of this fabric and all of these patterns. To what end? Why? In the last 2 years of me sewing, I've never really stopped to ask myself that. In the beginning, I told myself, okay, well, you're gonna go out and you're gonna buy fabric. And if you see an extra cut of fabric that you really like, cool, you can add it to the stash to quote unquote build up the stash. Well, the stash has been built up and it has been overfilled. And at this point, why am I still consuming? I do not have, as I mentioned already, space for it. So what is the point of it? It is simply consuming just to consume, which, as I've already mentioned, is stifling my ability to create, because I come into a space that is untidy and very disorderly because there's stuff coming out of every crevice, and I can't focus enough to do the things that I really want to do, which is create. The last point in terms of all the problems of this is I forget what I have. This happens to me time and time again. Right now I have a pattern that I have purchased 3 times because I keep forgetting that I have it. I'll have it out, my table will get full. I already told you how that happens. I'll clear the table, I'll stuff the pattern in one of the bins on my cabinet, and then I'll be in the fabric store and I'll be like, gee, I really like that pattern, I wish I had it, and then I'll buy it again. And then I did it a 3rd time, and at that point, that is when you know that this is too much. This is not good. This is not healthy. This is not advantageous to one's creative journey. This is a problem. So I need to put a lid on it. It also happens with fabric. Like, I'll be at the fabric store and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I need linen. I really want to make something in linen. And then I'll come home and I'll have like 3 cuts of linen already just waiting to be used. Now, I did go through most of my linen last linen season.
That's what they all say.
But even still, like, it was too much. It was too much. It was too much. So the fact that I'm constantly like buying and not thinking about it or giving any thought to it is causing me to forget what I already own, which then causes me to buy more of that thing that I really don't need, which wastes resources. Over consuming is problematic enough, but wasting money, in my opinion, is even worse. Like, we're not trying to just throw away hard-earned money for the sake of just throwing it out there. And in a lot of ways, that's kind of what I've been doing. So I need to focus on buying what I need and not what I want, because my list of wants are insatiable. Every season there are new pattern drops, there's new fabric, there's a new print, there's a new it girl, there's a new trendy item, there's a new trendy color, and it just keeps cycling and cycling through. And side note, I feel like all of that gets in the way of like your true idea of you. So one of the things that I believe very strongly as an individual is that style is personal and style is eternal. Think Coco Chanel. Coco Chanel will never go out of style. She was who she was, and we remember her for that to this day. We still try to embody that in a lot of ways as a society to this day. Style is very personal and style is eternal. And when I'm constantly being influenced by trends and this person and that person and this drop and that drop, I begin to lose sight of my style, which is a place I feel like I've arrived right now, where I'm just not crystal clear on what the direction I want to go in terms of personal style. And I think that's because there are too many outside influences. So instituting a low buy will also help me to really hone in on what I have, and is it a reflection of me and how I want to present myself, or was it a reflection of an idea that I saw out there that I grabbed onto and then bought back into my creative space? Just something to think about. So going into this low buy year, I really want to put an emphasis on using what I have. Not only using what I have, but understanding that everything that I have is no longer for me. And if I come across something that is genuinely of no use to me, being okay with parting ways with those things. Also with patterns, we need to do a pattern call at some point. I'm not saying that's going to happen this year. It would be nice. That's not the focus of this year. But if I come across a pattern as I'm searching for patterns and I can look at the silhouette and I can say without a shadow of a doubt, I'm not interested in making that thing, then it needs to go. It's just that simple. Now, I'm still fleshing out the details of this low buy year and what that's going to look like for me. But where I'm kind of at right now is, first things first, I'm going to allow myself to continue to buy notions. My thread rack is looking pretty sparse because one thing I use is a lot of thread. I sew a lot. So I'm going to allow myself, if I need a matching thread, I'm not going to stop myself from purchasing that matching thread. What I am going to stop myself from doing is taking advantage of that buy 3 get 3 free deal and then coming home with 6 spools of thread in 3 colors that I'm never going to use. I want to allow myself to buy 1 pattern a month. And I'm doing this because I know me and the type of person that I am. Unfortunately, I'm just starting this business, and so I don't know what my cravings to buy are gonna look like, and I don't want to completely like cold turkey myself and then be unsuccessful in the end. This is not something that I've ever tried before, so I want to ease my way into it. We all know that we're in the beginning of the year, so there are going to be a lot of pattern drops. The Big Four has already released 2 of their pattern drops for early spring. They're going to have a spring collection. They're going to have a summer collection. The indie patties are indie patties. That's funny. The indie pattern companies are going to start making their drops soon. Everybody's going to be dropping. And I think in order to allow myself the space to feel like I'm still participating in that, but I'm not overdoing it, is giving myself a 1 pattern purchase a month. Now, I've already made up in my mind that that can roll over. For example, if I don't buy a pattern in January, which I already have, but if I don't buy a pattern in January, then that pattern can roll over, and then in February I can allow myself 2 patterns to purchase. I'm okay with that. I've already made my January purchase, and so that is it for the month of January. For the rest of the month, I'm not buying any new patterns, which is hard, but we're gonna do it. For fabric purchases, I am not, I put on here that I could make 1 fabric purchase a month, and I tried that and it didn't go well, so I think I'm gonna eliminate that. I think I am going to allow myself to purchase fabric seasonally. So right now, for example, we're in the winter season. So if there are fabrics that I want to add to my stash for the winter season, then I'll allow myself up to 3 fabric purchases. When spring comes around, I'll reassess what I want to make, and I'll hold that up against what I want to have, and I will allow myself up to 3 fabric purchases for that season. The next thing is no shopping sprees, and this hits hard for me in estate sales. So I love a good estate sale, and what I'll do is I will go estate sale crazy. I'll hit it up on Thursday, on Friday, and if I can get my kids to come along with me, I'll go on Saturday too, and then I'll have this big estate sale haul, and I'll bring it, and I'll be so excited about all the deals and all the things that I just bought, and then I'll store that all away somewhere, because none of it works for whatever I'm trying to create in that moment, if that makes sense. So no more sprees, no big hauls, no, oh my gosh, look at all these things that I got, and this is just for me personally. You do your hauls because your girl enjoys watching them, scratches an itch for me, but I won't be doing any because I really need to get into the habit of, again, using what I have. What I plan on doing is shopping my stash and then doing like a haul for my stash. I think that would be a really cool concept to explore in the coming year. Shopping my patterns and doing a pattern haul like from my patterns that I already own. Again, I think those would be cool things to explore in this low buy year, but no more shopping sprees, no big hauls unless it is consisting of the things that I already own. The last thing that I really want to do is create some sort of spreadsheet and budget so that I can honestly track this. A few years ago, there was a creator. She doesn't post much anymore, but she basically tracks her spending all year, or she tracked her spending the entire year in terms of sewing, patterns, purchases, fabric, everything. And then at the end of the year, she was able to look at this spreadsheet and really see the raw numbers of what she'd consumed and how much she spent. And that year I was like, oh, that's a cool idea, and I made like a little note in my phone, and I did it for like 2 weeks and I dropped it. This year I want to be way more intentional about that. I really want to know what's coming into this room versus what's being used and what's being produced in this room. I think it would just give me a better understanding of my creativity and how I'm spending my time, and then maybe help troubleshoot some areas that I am struggling with personally, where I feel like I'm not making the best use of my time creatively. So that is the last thing. I think that's the most important piece, is getting everything that I'm saying to you right now in writing, and then creating those spreadsheets and those tracking sheets so that I can keep track of what I'm making and what I'm buying, what's coming in, what's going out. And then at the end of the year, being able to look at this without like any filters and see like, was I successful? And if I was, or if I wasn't, what did that mean for my creativity? Because again, going back to the beginning of this video, I am doing this because I feel like the habits that I've allowed myself to lean into are stifling my ability to produce and to be creative, and ultimately that is the goal. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you are somebody who is more of a minimalist in terms of shopping, what are some tips and tricks to keep you from constantly whipping out that card and swiping? If you're interested in also doing a low buy year, what does that look like for you? Until next time, stay beautiful, make great things. I'll talk to you later. Bye.